Good afternoon. I'm here with Wanda Goldwag, who is the Chair of the Office for Legal Complaints. Hi, Wanda. Thanks very much for talking to Regulation Matters today.
My pleasure.
Could you explain a little bit about how the Office for Legal Complaints and the Legal Ombudsman sit together and what the OLC's main objectives are?
Well, we were created by the Legal Services Act 2007, and we are, in essence, the board of the Legal Ombudsman. So the Legal Ombudsman is the person who makes the decisions, and we're the board that run the organisation.
Okay. And how does the OLC execute that role?
Well, it's just in the same way as any board would do. We set budgets, we set KPIs, key performance indicators, we make decisions around staffing levels and so on, we make decisions about where we should be based.
And how does the OLC interact with the Legal Services Board, the LSB?
The Legal Services Board is a board that's responsible for quite a lot of organisations in the legal sector, mostly regulatory organisations, and they also hold us to account. So in the same way as we hold the Legal Ombudsman to account, they look at us, they look at our budgets, they look at how we're performing, and they give us advice.
Okay, and you said at the beginning of your tenure at the OLC that the Legal Ombudsman complaint process needed a root and branch review. What were your main concerns and how has that review progressed?
So my first concern was around timeliness. If you are a consumer and you make a complaint, I think there's an expectation that your complaint will be handled relatively quickly. And certainly there's an expectation that it will be handled right from the start, immediately. And that wasn't the case. So as with many other ombudsmen, there's a bit of a time lag between someone making a complaint and someone actually reviewing it. And my first concern was about timeliness. Timeliness is not all. Doing something quickly is not just the answer, because actually for everybody, both the person who's complaining and the person who's complained about, what you actually want is a quality decision. And so what I was concerned about was a focus that seemed to me to be entirely on how quickly things were done, and what I wanted to do was to make sure they were appropriately speedy while taking into account quality. I think one of the interesting things about legal complaints actually is that they've got more complex. As legal practitioners have got better about handling complaints, so what we call first tier complaints, when you complain for the first time to the person who provided you the service, actually people are now beginning to handle those much better. So when the complaint arrives at the Legal Ombudsman, it's often a very complex matter, which they genuinely have not been able to agree on. So the consumer feels very, very aggrieved, and the person who gave the legal advice feels that it's not correct, that they have provided a good service. So we at the Legal Ombudsman are now handling very much more complex cases, and I also meant, when I said a root and branch review, that we need to look at that issue, that things can't be resolved within a few minutes, they may take weeks and months, and people need to know that and to understand what the process is going to be.
So you're happy with the improvements that you've seen so far?
I am always wanting more improvements, so let's be clear about that. I think we are on our way. We have some issues. We had some rather outdated technology. Our telephone system wasn't very good either. And we're fixing those things. Our telephone system's being fixed at the moment, and our new IT system will be available in the new year. But that's not it. I mean, people don't get a solution simply by changing the technology. What we've got to do is also to change the culture and the processes and the way the staff work, and that's a much more complex process. What I think is really, really important is that everybody must understand that we're being open, that we're being transparent, and that we're being fair to all parties.
Okay, and finally, how would someone go about getting involved with the OLC?
Well, it depends on what sort of involvement you want. Like most people, we have a website and we send out newsletters. And so if you're just sort of generally interested in us, you can keep up to date. If you were much more interested in us, we have a board which contains both lay members and non-lay members. And we're always looking for board members. In fact, we've just about to hire 2 new members, and we'll be hiring some more next year. So if someone was very, very interested, they might want to consider being a board member.
Okay, thank you very much for talking to Regulation Matters, Wanda.
My pleasure.
Thank you.